leaders share. And this is the celebrated panel discussion in this series that we're delighted to have three prominent school leaders. Am I audible to all?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So we'll go ahead without further ado. Uh, Let me begin by introducing myself and all our panelists today here. I'm Pranjal Gundesha. I head Intelligence Plus as the founder CEO. And Intelligence Plus is an award-winning organization focusing on nurturing children to be future ready through a lot of in-school and after-school programs. We also host Innoventure, India's largest ideation and innovation challenge for school children. And this is the 10th year that we're going to be hosting the edition. Our students have gone out to speak at various TED platforms, win patents, start their own social and commercial initiatives, both, and of course, doing academically and otherwise great change making initiatives in society. So, with that series, it's always been our purpose of how do we empower and brainstorm and collaborate with all the important stakeholders in the education space, which is the educators, school institutions, the parents, and the industry leaders to empower children to be future ready change makers. And with that, I'd love to introduce the panelists for today. We have Mrs. Promini Chopra. She's the principal of St. M.R.Jaipuria School, Lucknow. She has with 32 years of experience in the education sector, and she's become the principal of the school since 2015. She believes in effective classroom teaching and draws inspiration from nature, amongst other things. In her awards repertoire is the Brainfeed Edu Leader Award 23-24, Sir Aurobindo Award for Transformative Leadership, the Education World Grand Jury School Ranking Award, ranking the school as Uttar Pradesh and Lucknow, both #1 school. Uh, the same award even in 2021-22, ranking the school as the #1 school in Lucknow and Uttar Pradesh. The Sir Aurobindo Award for Transformative Leadership by School Management. A lot of other awards, including the Education Warrior Award presented by the Times of India. And apart from that, she's also won the Social Impact Award, ranked #1 in Uttar Pradesh and Lucknow for student-led community service projects. The school received the Social Impact Award at the Grand Jury by Education World in 2021. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. It's indeed our honor and privilege to have you here today. We have our next panelist, that's Mr. Ajay Singh. He is an experienced educationist who has worked in different roles in the field of education. He holds a master's degree in psychology from Banaras Hindu University and a B.Ed degree along with sports. He brings together different disciples in the education space. He has taught psychology across various curriculums, right from CBSE, IBDP, IGCSE, and has also taught theory of knowledge and global perspectives. Over a career spanning 2 decades, he's worked with some of the most reputed schools in India, such as Mayo College Ajmer, Genesis Global School, and before joining the Scindhia Public School. And he has received several awards, including the Excellence in Teaching Award, the International School Award, the Most Transformational Practices in Student Development Award. And he was the first recipient of the C.V. Raman Award for Principals in 2021. So with that, we are so thankful to having you here today, sir. And it's absolutely a joy and pleasure.
Thank you.
And then we have.
Thank you and good afternoon to all.
Thank you. We have our next panelist with Ms.Radha Baruah, who is the principal of the Sanskriti school, the Gurukul school in Guwahati, Assam. She has worked in diverse sectors, right from education as an academic associate director to the HR and innovation space, and also having a journey as an account director for MTV Networks. So it's a huge discipline and a diverse professional background in education, media, and advertising. She has won many awards, and her strategic planning and implementation of a lot of them have gotten a lot of measurable success. But apart from her list of great achievements, I would also like to commend her for her absolutely proactive approach in all the initiatives that we've leading. In fact, they're among the few schools who've had the whole school participating and not just a few select to platforms like Innoventure, which shows that they want to make access to innovation and such practices across the school, across demographics within her institution. So thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. Ma'am, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
1 minute. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you. So with that, we will deep dive into the topic for today, which is how do we nurture the school as an ecosystem for innovation? Considering the times we're in, that innovation is getting an impetus, not just as another skill, but as a need to thrive in an ever-changing environment. Not any time before in history has the rate of change been so rapid, and therefore the skill to adapt and innovate in these times becomes so much more crucial. And fundamentally, what happens is that if innovation is supposed to be such an important skill to bring change in society, why delay to a higher education or a corporate level when the foundational years can play a significant role? So today's discussion is hopefully aimed at gearing and giving a lot of insights to all the school leaders and parents who will be joining us now and who will be watching the recording online to understand how they can make their own schools a hub for innovation and innovation-based best practices for the times to come for the larger benefit of society. So thank you once again for joining us. I would be taking up a few questions, and I'm sure they are as thought-provocative and reflective for the entire audience at large to all of us here. So the first question, and I'd be more than happy to have any of you all respond to that, where I wanted to understand was how do we define an ecosystem for innovation within the school context? And once we do that, what are the key elements to build that ecosystem in the school? So I'd love any of you all to take the lead.
So
Yes,
I'll please any of the seniors. I think I always consider myself fairly young in the education sector, so I'm still learning. So please, from the stalwarts, we'd love to hear.
Promini, ma'am, we'd love to have from you.
No, I won't say that I'm a senior or a stalwart, please, ma'am.
Stalwart is a better word. Senior is the wrong word. Stalwart is the better.
We all have our experiences, and basically, it all depends on the kind of experiences you've had, and accordingly, perceptions are built. What I feel is that the precursors to innovation, they have to be built right from a very young age. And I consider uh, observation and awareness, these two factors, as precursors to innovation. So if I may say so, it's as simple as this, that when you take a child on a nature walk, if the school has this culture of a pre-primary child going on a nature walk, nature, the kind of lessons it has, the kind of experiences it gives, and how much a child can observe when the child is outdoors, that is something which is bound to make a child innovative. Because when a child observes a tree, at the same time he's observing grass. At the same time, he's observing the insects which are moving around. He is moving some leaves. He's looking at some leaves which are turned and twisted, and some which are absolutely entire, and a myriad kind of leaves, flowers. And when he looks up and looks at the multiple designs of clouds in the sky, and he observes them, he becomes aware of the very fact that uh, similarity may be there, but the rule of the universe is difference. And every day is different. If a child goes for a regular nature walk in summer, winter, autumn, all these seasons, he understands how nature brings about innovation in its systems, looks at adaptations. So what I am saying is that we have to begin this as soon as the child enters the school. When I say that, I mean the nursery class, I mean the pre primary stages. We make the child aware of his surroundings, allow the child to observe things. And while the child is doing that, if I take that simple example for nature walk, we do not end it there. There has to be a target, there has to be a learning outcome. That at the end of it, what do you wish to express? And the child is given simply paper, pencil, or nothing. He can just collect a few things and make something. So in our school, we do this very regularly, and I'll tell you something very interesting. We ask the children to create something after a nature walk. So these KG children, just 4-year child, he made a nest, and in that nest he put a few stuff like grass, leaves, all this. And then at the end, at the top of a basket, he just put something round. We asked him, "What is this?" He says, "See, this baby bird will have to be fed by the mother. So this is a worm, which I want the mother to pick up and put in the chick's mouth." So, that's how the child learns to innovate. And you can carry this up. If you build this here, then in the primary section, you move up and you do certain other things. But now I would request all the other participants to share, and I'll speak a little later.
Lovely. Thank you. So thank you for the bringing the importance of observation and difference through nature into learnings. Radha ma'am, we'd love to understand what do you think are the key elements to build the ecosystem of innovation in school?
Absolutely. So one word is, of course, ecosystem, which in itself involves a lot. And the other word is innovation. Now, so first of all, if I just look at education, because we are in the field of education, and for example, what Mrs. Chopra, Promini Chopra mentioned, very interesting example. Let me take off from there. So with the child coming in with the little worm, the child was observing and the child was problem solving. Because the child realized right from the beginning that the bird would need to feed. And how is the bird going to feed the babies? And so he's solving a problem. So a large part of what we do in innovation is not just about technology and tech and STEAM and, all of that. All that, of course, is a part of it. But it's about solving real problems in a fresh, simple way. And one of the things that I think we like to promote and we are increasingly promoting is to solve it in ways so that we look at solutions which are encouraging equity and, of course, improving the learning process that is there. So those are some of the key areas that I feel. So problem solving is, I think, something that we need to encourage from a very, very young age, definitely. And the ability, the more open-ended we make the problem, so that there can be multiple solutions to it.
Right.
I mean, I teach economics in class. So when I'm teaching and I throw a problem at the children, and sometimes I say, look, there are multiple answers, but you have to give me your reasoning for it. So that's it. So, you're able to reason out. So there can be different solutions to a problem. So open-ended questioning is, so when we are talking to children, when we are taking them out, while they observe, so if they have open-ended questions, they all solve it in their own way, which is I think interesting, because that's how we come up with multiple solutions and different ideas rather than straight-jacketed thought process.
Yes, absolutely. Love the idea of open-ended questions, trying to take up real-world challenges, and then, of course, a divergent approach to problem solving. Sir, over to you. Would you like to add something to the key elements that you believe will develop an ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a very lovely topic, and it's a pleasure to hear the two young ladies what their ideas. I would like to add on to what they have said, and very rightfully what they have mentioned. So if I ask you, our moderator, a question as to, can you draw a scenery for me? So what will you draw on a paper?
Well, a typical student would draw the mountains and the house in a river flowing by. Having done that, maybe I would like to draw, since we've taken the context of young and old in a very different context, I would like to draw women, maybe a handicapped women running an Olympic race, because that's breaking a lot of stereotypes. Women usually are not
That's where you
considered
got the
least.
answer right. That's where you got the answer right. Because when I go for training sessions and I ask teachers, I have found 95% of the teachers would draw on a piece of paper the birds, the mountains, the river, the tree, and a hut. You see, that's where we kill innovation when we teach them this. Don't
Right.
teach, allow them to learn. You see? So it begins as early as rightfully mentioned by the two senior panelists, that what we start as a teacher drives innovation, right? So teaching is not an information giving exercise. Teaching is, I believe, right now, allow them to question. And so your
Absolutely.
classes should be question based, not answer based. So stop
Super.
dictating, start questioning. That's the first thing which I would like to highlight. So, as an example, what would have happened had Hitler not gone to, let's say, the drawing school? Let's throw questions. Let the kids come up with questions. Why I got fanciful with this idea is there was one student of class 6th. He copied the question of mathematics wrong, right? It was a simple equation. The only thing which he made a mistake was it was something x plus something minus something y is equal to 8. So he had written the x and the y right, but he wrongfully wrote 6. When this was marked 0 by the teacher, and I was there with the child, you tend to meet with the children. He was so down and he was so out. I made a blunder of this question. I went to the teacher and I said, look, is the process correct? Has he calculated 6 correctly? And when we saw the question, it was absolutely correctly solved. So I said, look and mark the process. Cut half mark for incorrect copying. That is, I'm okay with it. And you should have seen the face of the child. You see, never kill, right? So our approach to education has to undergo with ourselves as a teachers. So when we teach them with the how and the why, I think we are allowing them to become innovators. And this is what the crux of the matter is, right? And problems are around us. Let them find solutions to it. Example, last year when we had the Sam Pitroda Award, at the Scindhia school, we have this on an annual basis, right? So kids from 8th to 12th, they come up with their own inventive things. So what happens in the rainy season, since they are supposed to have undergarments ready, and it usually rains and it doesn't get, dried faster. So couple of them got a cardboard, struck a silver foil, put 2 fans on the top in that box, 2, 3, 4 powerful lights from the side, and it was a working dryer. Within 15 minutes, it was drying. You see, they found a problem, they had a solution. And then we told them that, can you provide it to all the houses? Go ahead. So it was a new kind of so as I said, educator, it excites me when I find solutions through the children, coming for the children. So this is how it is. Concentrate on the how and why instead of what and where.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for highlighting the importance of questions and how and why being so crucial. So that leads me to the second question in terms of what are the specific strategies, like you beautifully mentioned, on throwing questions to children, giving them problems. But how do we design our curriculum in such a way, or how do we, not just the curriculum, but even the timetable, because that's such a crucial part of any school's working, that we can give in time, because a lot of school leaders that we see struggle to embed time for such specific subjects, clubs, challenges, or projects. So how do we integrate design thinking, curriculum, innovative thinking, framework, strategies into the school curriculum? We'd love to know some examples of how your schools are trying to do it. So maybe this time we'll begin with Radha, ma'am. Ma'am, you have to unmute.
There is a bit of noise happening in school, so I've been tending to mute myself out.
No problem.
Before we get into that, can we just decide on, because ecosystem is also a part of it.
Teachers.
And for ideas to work, you need, it's like for plants to grow, you need the right level of moisture and the sunlight and the rest of it. Similarly, I think for growth of every aspect, we require it. So, the individuals, the organizations, and the resources all need to be there together. Mindset, of course, is very important. So, as long as one does sometimes need to work on the mindset. So, like Mr. Singh was saying, when he spoke with the teacher to change the question, I mean, to re-look at the aspect, we similarly come across those sometimes when we see that and I find this particularly when you are judging MCQs, because first of all, setting of MCQ questions is an art, and not everyone is an artist on that. So sometimes when an MCQ is set, a child takes a different perspective on it. We have to give the child the benefit of doubt. So because they're thinking of it from a different point of view, that's all. So mindset is important, and taking your people together on it, and learning to work collaboratively. So this collaboratively is one of the key aspects, I'll say, that we took forward in our school. So over the years, we used to have a function called Odyssey, which used to be, at an intra-school level, and then follow it up at an inter-school level. It was everything from the theaters to music to sports to everything involved. What we've done over the last few years is we have made it into collaborative workshops.
Okay.
We have moved out of competition because we found it becoming such a nasty environment. It was parents, for dance competitions, parents were calling teachers home. They were taking training for months so that the child could win an award. If the child didn't win an award, I mean, that's not what we are after. That's not the intention. So we gone into collaborative workshops. We do different levels. So, for example, the younger children are doing different levels of workshops. Older, middle school and older children are doing different levels. In school itself, we have done something called the Enterprise Challenge, where the children themselves have produced, using natural things, waste from our lunchroom. Basically, lemon peels, they have used, dried, and used in the chemistry lab to create a powder for washing. So once that chemical was produced, then we had other teams producing the packaging for it, and they created the paper. Then we had another team planning the advertising for it. So, I'm just giving you different ideas of how we kind of put this. So, and we put the whole product together, and we finally had a couple of exhibitions and other things that we've done and taken this out there. We've also taken collaboration forward in terms of the inter-school level last year, and schools were not ready for the idea. So we managed to pull together a few schools, and the children came in and enjoyed it so much. We had the teachers coming, as well as some of the principals wrote back to me saying, thank you so much. We had dance where we had children from 8 different schools come together, and by the second day, end of the day, they had choreographed, planned their dance, and put it together. We had certain other projects, notions, and we even had them planning, certain enterprise issues where they went to the nearby village, came across some problems and the solutions they came up with. So we had all kinds of different activities related where they worked together to come up with solutions. And we had a Nukkad Natak where they came up. They worked collaboratively, and over, within, I would say, 48 hours came up with the whole thing, practiced, costumes, everything, and they put it together. So I think collaboration can work. So first of all, while yes, some level of competition is important, the importance of learning to work together is one of the key elements. And also, yes, thinking, as I was saying, problem solving is definitely there. But that I just shared some of the things we've done. That's all.
Wonderful. We love the idea of a collaborative approach, especially the enterprise model that you just said, so that they could use and put into action. And in the process, I see them learning about different roles of a business goes through the use cases of all their skills, like in chemistry or maybe design and all of these brilliant use cases. Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. Yes, we'll go move on to Ajay, sir, if you'd like to share some examples or insights on how can we integrate innovation-based practices into the school curriculum. Sir, you're in mute.
Sorry. So since the Scindhia school is from 6 to 12, we have full liberty to try and test out different mechanisms for classes 6 to 8. Right? 9th onwards, you start preparing them for the board examinations. So one of the biggest thing which we achieved was when we did a flipped learning, right? We told the students, read the chapter and come back with questions. The teacher will answer the questions. The teacher will not teach. I tell you, it was such a fun-filled classroom where the children were trying to test the teacher now. You see? So the questions were very, very thoughtful, very provocative. And the teachers were told clearly that please don't, outline any question as stupid question. You need to take it on the paper. And I think that was the best learning. And when I took a feedback from the students, what you have learned? I don't ask. I said, what do you learn? Even the, whom people think are the weakest, they came up with the answers what they had learned. Because they started thinking from the questioning perspective. Not what the teacher tells them to, this is what it is, come back prepared with this answer. This has changed the dynamics from 6 to 8. Right. And then the problems are given to them in kind of groups, as mentioned by my moderator right now, Radha ma'am, and they have to go and find solutions. Okay, so in grade 6, we said, okay, look at these buildings, which are all there on the Scindhia school, historical buildings. Why do you think there is no cement? Now, to help them out, I said, can you meet some people to find out? So they, along with the history teacher, went to the architect who sits in an office, went to the project engineer who sits in another office, and they started finding answers why there is no cement. See, they're all built with lime mortar. All these 125-year-old buildings built with lime mortars. So they started going back in the era, and from there we took a session on architecture as to how the modern buildings are. Can this building sustain, your sunlight? Can it be a natural lighting mechanism? Can it be an absorbent? Can it be a cool environment inside and hot outside? Because Gwalior is very hot. So the approach is what I think is helping students to become better learners. And when they become better learners, I believe they start giving better answers. Right? So by the time you come to class 9th and 10th, of course, I don't say that you should stop it. I would say that, yes, do tell them that this is what the board expects as your answer. So stick to it. However, continue with your learning. Right? So then can you integrate? And the best way to do is one more aspect which the school should practice. We have started in our own way, interdisciplinary learning. Right? So we have brought in our 3 teachers, geography, physics, and mathematics. And we took them to the water bodies, which is the Tal on the fort. There are 6 water bodies. Now, using that Tal, all the 3 had to take the class together. We have started something called the master classes. So all the 3 teachers, I believe, even I was mesmerized by what those 3 teachers could do, coming together, as rightfully mentioned by collaboration. So again, this kind of activity is also given to the children, that can they prepare a kind of a master's class, which they will take for everybody. So and then the whole idea is to evolve their skills, evolve their research techniques, evolve their thinking abilities without guiding them in the real sense. So, I mean, there is a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do. Immense potential.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing some of these ideas, especially, the collaborative approach for the teachers as well. I think that's such an important part of the ecosystem, which I was going to come to in the next question. But we'll move on to Promini ma'am to hear some of their use cases or examples, projects, clubs that the school runs that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so see, when we're talking of the ecosystem, then just as the student, the teacher is equally important. And the parent is also important because all of them are a part of that ecosystem. That's how they make it. And I'll pick up from what Mr. Singh had said. Uh, he spoke of teaching and learning. We feel that learning has more possibilities than teaching. And this is where the mindset of a teacher has to change. So it's very essential to work at the level of a teacher and to give them challenges so that they can find innovative solutions. Because once a teacher's mindset changes, automatically the mindset of children, all 45 students of a class change. And we do talk of the board exams in class 10 and 12 and not being able to do things there. But I personally feel that's not the way it is. It is just that it has to be built into the system at each stage. I spoke to you about pre-primary. Now, when we talk of the primary grades, then there it is very easy to integrate subjects. And we, if we pick up values, and if we pick up a value like empathy, once a child starts feeling certain things, the child will start noticing problems. Uh, and when he notices problems, if he has the freedom, he will automatically start finding solutions. So, what we ask our children to do is we ask them to step in, and we just tell them that you can step into whatever you wish in the ecosystem of a sea, of a river, or a river. And then, when the child thinks of himself as a riverbed, he starts imagining himself or herself as a riverbed. And therein, he starts feeling and he starts drawing that on my bed, I do not want a plastic bottle. I do not want a wrapper, right? I want more fishes on my bed, right? And after that, obviously, the child becomes more responsible and moves away and understands why pollution has to be controlled and why we have to be sensitive to the environment. So the child starts telling you innovative solutions to it once the child steps into that particular ecosystem and empathizes with what is actually happening in the world and finds a solution. And similarly, we do a lot of projects in the middle school. When I say middle school, I mean grades 5 to 8. So, for example, we do in grade 5 a project which is called Responsible and Conscious Citizenship. Now, in this project, the children in a group, because we stress a lot on collaboration, just as ma'am had said, that collaboration has to be the rule when you're talking of innovation. That's how the world is working at present. And there the children, they first find out about a place in the city, and they then research on that place. Eventually they go and they match their research with what actually is in that area, and there they talk to the people, the all the people who are working over there or the higher ups. They interview them, they perceive things over there, and then they find whatever they feel is an oddity. They talk about that to the heads over there and try to understand why solutions are not there, and then they suggest solutions, and then they make presentations and go back to them and present whether these will be workable solutions or not. So it's a lot of practical experience that they get. One is ownership, another is a practical experience, and the third is research, fourth is collaboration. So all these four skills are very essential for them to understand anything and to innovate. Then in middle school, we also, stress a lot on, we have a research lab. So wherein what we do is, because the constraints of syllabus are there, but we have this system of beginning every topic in science or in social studies with a discussion. The teacher simply tells the children, now this topic I'll tell you later, but this is the problem. Let's start thinking of the solutions. And they come up, and the whole thing is discussion based. And eventually, through that discussion, emerges that topic which the teacher has to teach. And in sciences, we leave certain portions of the topic. And we ask the children that they have to divide themselves into 6 or 7 groups in the class, and each each group has to present its research. So that part of the topic then is not taught by the teacher. It is researched by the children, and the children understand the topic. And just as sir was saying, that eventually when they are presenting their research, they are in a way teaching the class. So it's more of learning rather than teaching by a teacher, because teaching is very, very boring. And if you are sitting on the other side, when we, all my panelists will agree, when as principals, when we have to hire new people and we go to a demo class, like sometimes it is so boring sitting over there, because if a teacher is not asking enough questions, if the teacher is not letting children ask questions, and it is just a one-man show, it's not appreciated in the present times, and it will not lead us anywhere. Now when they come to senior school in grades 10, 11, 12, though they are busy, no doubt, everywhere, as ma'am was saying, like parents, oh, it's grade 10 and it's grade 12 and stuff like that, but life doesn't end, it's flowing. So we tell our children that you're not studying 24/7, and there are phases in the school when you have to think of what you have to do beyond your books. Find out stuff from your books, but take it beyond the books. So we do a lot of student-led initiatives in 10th, 11th, 12th. There are a lot of student-led initiatives, and it's heartening for me to share that I had two of my children some 3 years back, and I said, see, we need to have clubs in the school, and only for grades 10, 11, 12. So they said, ma'am, first of all, we need to have a constitution of those clubs. And they were political science teacher children. So they formed a constitution, and that constitution we are still using, because every year students come up with more and more clubs. So, we always tell them that you go and refer to the constitution, whether it will be a wing of that club or a separate club. So that's again, and that's the encouragement that they find. So now every event that is done in the school, that is student led. Now when the event is student led, the first thing that children do is that, look, we will not participate because we are planning the event, we are inviting people to participate in it, and their learning is building a team, anticipating the problems that will be there, then finding solutions, and then growing, and next year coming up with something better. And when there is a team for a student led initiative, then the team is like a logistics team, a digi team, a tech team, all kinds of communication team, advertising team, all kinds of teams they will make. So once they start doing these teams, then obviously, like recent, we'll be having a Jaipuria festival very soon. So that event has got 6 events in it, which are student led. One is Scindhia, which is a science event. Another is Tech Vista, which is a computer, which is done by students who are like tech savvy. Another one is Another component of that is Jhankar Beats, which is a music and dance event. Another is Solarshia, which is an art event in that. And the sixth one is Meraki, which is a literary event. So all of them, they are combined in a Jaipuria festival, and all of them have got huge teams where a teacher is an observer. They've already prepared the teasers. I'll share the teaser with you. So they've prepared the teasers, though the event is in August, but they're ready. And now, because there are 6 events, so all of them, they are competing with each other as well. While working, they're competing that, okay, whose teaser has to be better than, and who's going to do it at the right time. So they learn time management, they learn planning, they learn restraint, they learn tolerance, they learn patience, and they learn that they have to be consider themselves as one speck in a team rather than feeling I, me, mine. It's essential to move the children from I, me, mine, if we want them to develop right life skills and become a part of this innovative ecosystem. I think you're on mute. I'm not able to hear you. Are you on mute?
Sorry. Yes, I was. Thank you so much. It was wonderful that you took us through each stage of your school, through a lot of examples, a lot of initiatives that are being used, right from an inquiry-based or a questioning-based approach to student-led initiatives. And it's so heartening to hear that, because I'm sure children would be so excited to just lead such initiatives rather than being passive learners in some sort. So moving on, since we've spoken a lot about, student-led initiatives or involving children to solving real-life problems, here the idea is, either they do it through such initiatives, and the second approach or a parallel approach is to systematically, because a lot of the discussions nowadays resonate around, do we lead ideas? Do we let ideas and innovations happen by chance or by choice, right? By just a eureka moment or a process, right? Through frameworks. So I'd love to, maybe understand a little more if there are certain processes, like, for example, design thinking, or all of you all have already mentioned about project-based learning in one format or the other. So are there certain processes that the school is using to systematically kind of develop these, creativity tools, innovation or idea generation, protocols, projects, so that this could be by design, a pattern in the school curriculum, not just maybe for the children, but also as a professional development tool for the teachers, right? I'll keep this open as a question for anyone to share first. So Ajay sir, would you like to start this time?
Yeah. So as a question, it's a very pertinent question. And the answer lies in the fact that the ecosystem word which we have used, right? And as one example given by Radha ma'am about, can the plant grow in a system which is not designed to allow the plant to grow? So can we look at, formulating systems? And that's where the process starts. So for me, if you want to ask me, I would say it's a process which creates that wetland for ideas to flourish. Secondly, the process should allow the liberty to all the children, to all the teachers, to all the stakeholders to come out with their ideas. Workable or non-workable is not the question. Stupid or foolish is not the question. The idea is the moot point, right? So they have to come up with ideas. Then they can brainstorm on the ideas. They need to learn to brainstorm on those ideas. Can they question, counter question, lay the ideas threadbare is the second step. And from that will emerge one or two or three workable ideas, right? So it's a full process. There are, of course, sometimes a eureka moment. It happens. But I would still say the eureka also is built on a dormant level of thinking which has happened prior to that thoughtful thinking, right?
Yes.
So when we allow and inculcate this habit of thinking and mulling over facts, as simple as there is a guest tonight, what should I make for dinner? It's design thinking is as simple as this, not make it more complex. So do I know the taste of the visitor, of the guest? That's the first question. Do I know that he's a veg or a non-veg? Do I know that he would love to have maybe a kind of a soup before dinner? So reach out to the guest. You see, that's how the questioning starts. And then you can add one or two from your side to make it that हमने सब कुछ आपका नहीं बनाया, we have added also flavor to it. But that's where it starts. Try and reach out and find out and do research as to what I should be doing, right? So it can be a simple thing as a programming for dinner to as a complex mechanism for arranging the annual day of a school. Let us make committees headed by children, right? So that is what we need to inculcate and empower them and be at the back. Just see that you allow them to make a mistake. And then you can fine-tune it, give a guideline to it. But they do wonders. Like there's an economics educator here, and I would like to add on to what I learned from my class 11 chap, and it was an eye-opener, trust me. So when I left Mayo College and joined as the head of residences in Genesis Global in Noida, I booked a flat in Greater Noida, right? And it has got delayed, so now I'm getting the position of it. However, when this question I raised to my class 11 students, I was interacting with them. This boy gets up and said, sir, you are saying that you are having an asset, a possible asset. Why do you say it's an asset? It's a liability. I was forced to think now. I said, well, asset means I own it. It becomes mine. So it's my asset. He said, no, asset means something which generates money for you. Is your house generating money for you? I said, well, son, yes, you're right. It is not generating money for me. Rather, it is taxing me. I have to pay an EMI and I have to pay an interest on it. So I'm paying more than that and it's not giving me back anything. So, sir, there'll be depreciation. Like, of course, there'll be depreciation. So how do you term it as an asset? You see this level of questioning. I mean, I didn't think of it that way, but today I told him, I hugged him. In fact, I said, son, I should have met you before 2012. I would never have invested in a flat. Honestly, I told him with clear conscience that I would never have invested because it's a liability. So allow the ecosystem to evolve in such a way that ideas can flourish. The workability, non-workability will be a due course of time. And I personally believe that it's a process.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that as insights. Would any of you like to add in, ma'am, before we move ahead to the next question?
See, I feel that within the process, there'll be eureka moments, as sir has said. But the process has to be there, and the freedom to have those eureka moments has to be there. It's like we started Logic Kids, right? Last year, we didn't do it. It came to us as an information, but this year we are doing it in a structured manner for the whole school. We've taken that up as a program for the whole school. So it's like everywhere you have to first build that skill in your structure, because if you to build any skill, you have to have a structure, because and multiple skills have to be built. So there have to be multiple ways of doing it and multiple areas in which you get into, because every child's interest will be different and every child's domain of thinking will be different. One will do innovation at the level of mathematics, another one will do innovation at the level of art. So a child who's good at craft has to be given within that system that opportunity. So the system has to be there, and you have to have various programs, and some of them very, very compulsory for children, because parents may not appreciate, but eventually it is the educators who need to decide certain things. We do a program which is called MindSpark for maths, and we've been doing it for years. Now, that is something which really helps children develop their mathematical things and think out of the box, because it has got such problems which are not there in the conventional mathematics book. And the child starts understanding them, the ones who to whom maths belongs. Their joy is in maths, they automatically start innovating in it. We, in our school, we have Sanskrit as a compulsory subject right from nursery up to grade 8. And in 9, 10, 11, 12, many of them choose it as an optional subject. And there are some children, who chose upon themselves. Two of my teachers, they said that they would like to do Gita classes, and some of the children volunteered to join them. And how a child finds, innovation begins from there. Now, there is a group of these children who have, for 6 years, they've not missed a single Gita class, which happens after the school hours. One would wonder that they are simply learning some kind of religious things or some kind of Hindu philosophy or something like that. No, it's not that. The way they are interpreting that text is what's making them innovative, making them think, making them find solutions. So, I'll give you one example. One of them, she took it upon herself to give a talk last year. And she said that she would give a talk on the first chapter. I really wondered. I said, what is this girl going to do from the first chapter of Gita? It hardly has anything in it. It simply has a setting of a war. What is she going to do? And what she explained was that, see, if you look at your hand very closely, you'll not be able to see the lines of your hand. But if you look at a clock from a distance, you're able to see the hands of a clock very well. Similarly, Arjun told Krishna that you take my chariot in the middle of the battlefield. The reason was that as long as he was there in his area, he could only see the strengths of his, in the battlefield, he could only see the strength of his team. But when he went in the center, he could see the other side as well. It is then that he saw Bhishma Pitama. It is then that he saw the other warriors, his own guru, Dronacharya. And it is then that he was shaken. He could see not only their strength, but he could understand there were people who were much revered. And it is then that he asks Krishna the question that why do you want me to enter into this, okay, war? How is it going to help me? And the whole Gita emerged from there. So according to that girl, the whole Gita emerged because Arjun thought of going in the center of that battlefield. And I, who has read Gita, like I may have read it 10 times, but it never occurred to me that, okay, somebody could even think like that and ask a question of that kind. One of them who's joined that group, he's in grade 12, and this year he gave a talk on climate change. And he said that climate change, is it a problem of the environment or is it a problem of the human mind? And eventually, he said the solution is in spirituality because you are moving away from yourself, you are moving away from your philosophies. That is why you are creating an environment which is not caring for anyone. That is not being human. Now, this sprung from whatever he had learned, not memorize that text, but through questioning that text. So any text and every text they have to be exposed to text, they have to be exposed to craft. And in our school, we have those systems, even games, lot of sports, because there are children who learn all these skills, collaboration, innovation, everything in the sports field. While watching another team play, they understand what their strategy should be. So that's observation. So that's developing their skills. So that's what I'm saying, that it has to be an approach which caters to all intelligences, woven into the school system in a very, very well-knit structure.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing such beautiful examples, ma'am. Radha, ma'am, over to you. And I'm going to digress the question slightly since you've been a school proactively participating in the Innoventure Challenge and across the entire platform as a whole school approach and with the other schools. So we'd love to know what is the impact you have seen with children going through these innovation processes in their mindset, skill set, or approach since you've been with us for like many years now.
Right. So it's been interesting because, there have been multiple. So while I talked about collaboration, there's another angle that we work at, which is called logical thinking. There's another aspect which we look at. Of course, life skills is common, but our life skills is more a conversation and discussion. And that's where actually a lot of our problem areas come up. We've had students, Promini ma'am said, students come up with clubs. Yes, we have students come up with the charters and plans and how they will take the clubs forward. So they conduct it and they plan for it, they conduct it, and they take it forward. So over time, there has definitely been a growth, ownership of the space, of the school space, because they feel that I'm allowed to think, I can come up with an idea. So I have small little ones sometimes just coming up to me and saying, I want to talk. and they come and they'll give us a solution. Last year I had a child from class 8 submit a document to me saying, ma'am, this is the school improvement, some thoughts I had. And she had actually created a whole document of some 10-15 pages which she had put together, and she shared it with us. So it's very interesting, it's very nice, because they see the problems. So we said, look, there are times that we won't have solutions to the problems you all throw up. It's life, you always may not have a solution. So we need your help, we can't do everything by ourselves. So that ownership and that solution finding ability is starting much younger than it was earlier. And also something which is there, but I feel it's not there enough, is yes, just talking up, the confidence to just speak up and talk and ask questions is there. But I mean, all of us, especially out here in the leadership group, feel we want it definitely at a higher level than it is right now. So yeah, those are areas that we are working on, we're hoping to work on and take it forward.
Right, right. And a lot of your students have also won the Innoventure Challenge. So have you seen, this transition that goes through because of these processes that are, we'd love to understand
Right.
because we're trying to
Absolutely.
put very intentional innovation-based practices in the entire platform. Uh,
Yes, yes, yes. They come up to you with ideas, and when I say no, but I need time, I need you to structure it out. Ma'am, we have prepared a presentation. Can we take you through it? So
mm,
things like that. We had a couple of students last year who, in fact, participated in another thing where they had created an app where sign language can be converted to audio.
yes, Krishna.
You must have heard about that one. Yes. So,
Yes,
that.
yes. Krishna was part of the Trailblazer Fellowship.
Yes. So that was another very interesting one which was done. So which are all and these ideas come to them. So the
Right.
latest is where they're looking at how they can give back to society on weekends. So some of the seniors are working on it. So they said, look, we're thinking of it. Let us get back to you. So I said, okay, get back to us.
Great. Uh, Over to you, Ajay sir. Again, your school has been participating in the Innoventure Challenge for quite some years, have also won awards for that. Uh, what have you seen as the impact of children getting exposure to such platforms, challenges, Innoventure or beyond innovation-based platforms, in their mindset or skill set or their approach?
You see, the whole crux is that you start looking at them as young scientists. I'm not saying science and physics, chemistry, biology. No, no. I mean
Yeah.
that they look at things in a scientific way, right?
Mm,
So they look at the
mm,
method, they question the
mm,
method, they look at the process,
mm,
they question the process. So there is a positive impact, and it also allows for the skills as a byproduct, which allows them to become better students when they interact with people outside. You must
mm.
have gone Dave Goyal, that young chap, venture program from Scindhia School. And today he's making waves. He has gone to the National Observatory right now, Udaipur, he was the ninth in all India rank. So all these
Wow.
platforms, Innoventure and certainly yours, is helping the children to evolve. And that's what we are looking at as educators, that they need to become better version, much educated version, not the rote wala, not what the
Mm,
teacher we are teaching them as a unidirectional mechanism, rather
mm.
people with perspectives, people with
Right.
directions, and the people with the ability to dissect information. So when these things get fulfilled, you look at it positively as an institution that yes, the children are growing. So I think we are on the right track, and Venture also is helping in a big way.
Thank you so much. We're running short of time, but I'm going to wrap it up with a quick question, which I think is so like a burning one, especially for the parent community, which is, the focus is a lot on marks because that's what goes out. That's what children are graded on. So should we, as a community of educators, also put out an innovation rubrics? How do we assess, measure, show children the progress and highlight its importance to the parent community also at large, because that's where the underlying current and focus is for the children and parents. So should that be done is the first question. And if then, how do we go about it as a
I would like to
process?
answer it first. Being a boarding school, I would like to answer it first. You
Absolutely.
see, when I question the parents that when the child was at home, did he start receiving guests? Did he offer water? See, the question is, I'm not asking them what was your child doing. Did he, have the ability to start a discussion with them? So the parents also start thinking. And yes, the problem what you have mentioned is an Indian problem. हम सिर्फ वो गाड़ी की mileage देखते हैं, right? That becomes a good car. We don't look at what the car is in the real sense. So it's the abilities which should decide, and it requires a tremendous mind shift because everything has become a judgmental criteria based on the marks.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's not a reality for me, and I would not, as an educator, look at the marks per se. However, that's the reality. So you can't run away as an educator. But the success of a child is not the marks. The success of the child is how he takes decisions. Success of the child is he able to analyze things? The success of the child is how good he is at handling and interacting with people. of his age, of his lower age, of people elder to him. These are the denominators for me. One of my friends, when I was in school and I passed out, he did not get a job from after IIT. Do you know why? I mean, a very stupid, simple thing. He didn't know who was Sunil Gavaskar. Can you imagine? You see, it's a very important thing. The people felt this guy doesn't know the best batsman of the country. How is he aware about situations? So this is the answer to what we need to expect now. If you just to wind it up, when I look at the questions by Sundar Pichai, I think he usually asks, "What problems did you have in life and how did you solve it?" He never goes for the knowledge because knowledge has brought them to that level. He asks them questions as to kya problem tha and how did he solve it. I think that's where the parents come aligned with to the child's reality.
Right. Lovely. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Promini ma'am, I'll ask you a very more specific question. If we have to build a rubrics, which rightly, like Ajay sir said, should highlight even other parameters that children should be, if not at a board examination level, but at a school level, what would those parameters be for you? I mean, how do we measure children's skill set on innovation, abilities, mindset, problem solving, divergent thinking?
See, first and foremost, I wouldn't make it an individual thing. I would want it to be a group evaluation, because all of these, they highlight collaboration. And if they're highlighting collaboration, then the whole group rubrics has to be for the whole group has to be marked, and the whole group has to understand that for the whole group there'll be uniformity in marks, if we are really looking at marking it, so that they understand that they are responsible for each other, so that this becomes a culture. That is one thing which I would want. And also, I feel that in this, it's very essential to include discussion, have a proper rubrics for discussion. So these are the two things. But otherwise, personally, I would not want to mark innovation, because if we actually start marking it, it'll mar the joy. Here, we are not trying to assess right or differentiate right from wrong. If a child is drawing, like in our school, we just tell our teachers, if a child is drawing a blue apple, how does it matter? It's absolutely fine. Why should a red apple be right? So there's no, it's in the child's mind. The child wants a blue apple, so that's okay. So if we start marking, then we will be, labeling it as right or wrong. Once we start doing it as right or wrong and we start marking it, then they will not go beyond a certain level. Marks do have an importance, no doubt, and we can't deny that till we have another system. But at the same time, what is important is the way the child is getting marks. If a child is consistent and if a child is getting marks after due discussion and after analysis, and the teacher's questions are thought provoking, then the way the child gets marks, automatically the child becomes innovative. Then you'll find a correlation between innovation and marks. But that depends on the kind of learning that is happening in the class and the way the teacher is asking questions, the kind of paper she is making, the way she is assessing and what she is assessing. In the beginning, sir said open-ended. Ma'am also said open-ended questions. I mean, if a child has to be, if we are talking of innovation, we can simply give the child a story and say read and change the ending, change the beginning. Or why do you have to describe Hanuman? You describe another character walking into the room if you are studying the story of Hanuman. So I feel that experiences have to be given. They need not be marked. That's what I feel.
Lovely. So Radha ma'am, finally to you, and I'll tweak the question a little further. So how would you want that the school becomes a hub for innovation, is known for innovation? How do we highlight the innovation abilities, if not through marks, but give it importance in the eyes of the parents, the larger community, that this is important and it's important for the school and its ethos?
So I think as schools who've been there, I mean, I think ours must be one of the youngest compared to the other two stalwart schools who are there with us today. But word of mouth is what matters so much, and that is what I've seen work so much better. And for example, our students had created 2 armchairs out of Tetra Packs one year, a couple of years back, which we still use. And they had painted it, and they repainted so that it's fresh and looking good and stuff. And we've all sat on it. I've sat on it. So sometimes when I have to record some videos, I sit on it and I record it. So, when you're using the material, or this washing powder, we are using it, we're giving it out, we're using it, we're talking about it, the children talk about it, because I think that's what matters. That's how you get word of mouth across, which is I mean, yes, okay, social media is there, the rest of them are all there, but I think key is the experience, the children's experience. That there is nothing to bridge that.
Absolutely.
At the end of it, that experience and that smile that they'll have and say, today this happened. So, that's what.
Absolutely. How beautifully. I think what came out beautifully through all of your feedbacks was that we're nurturing children to do and find significance, and purpose and meaning to what they're doing, and in the process build on the skills that are required to apply the knowledge, to lead, to initiate, to think through from different perspectives. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much in the end to make us realize that children are not meant to be markable, but they're meant to be remarkable. I think that's something that I've really taken back home from today's session. So thank you so much. It has been an absolute joy, privilege, honor to have all of y'all, all 3 schools as part of the Innoventure Challenge. And of course, to know and understand the visionary process behind what makes your schools remarkable in the true sense of the term. And India needs a lot of more such school leaders and schools. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'ams. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful learning from all of us. I think it's a co-learning space, so that was absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye.
Thank you
Take care.
so much.